So, after my video yesterday on the new custom game available in Battlefield 1 right now, called Back to Basics, a lot of people said that the American faction could never be in that game mode because there's no infantry variant of the M1903 Springfield. Now that's not strictly true, there is an infantry version of it, but it's only accessible in certain ways. First of all, the server option for standard issue rifles needs to be turned on. And secondly, you need to be playing as the American Expeditionary Force in a server, so you need to be on a map like Ballroom Blitz or Argonne Forest. Now if you can get those settings to come together, you will be able to choose the 1903 as a rifle for any of the classes whilst you're playing as the American Expeditionary Force. And you can run around with the American bolt action to your heart's content. Outside of those settings, the weapon won't appear in the weapon list, and you'll have to settle for using the scoped versions or the experimental model with the Pedersen device attached. Right now in Back to Basics, there aren't any maps in the rotation that include the American faction, so the likelihood of you ever coming across the 1903 Infantry in Battlefield 1's multiplayer is extremely rare. If we take a look at the list of the bolt actions in Battlefield 1, all of the other rifles have an infantry variant listed. Even the Martini Henry is the infantry variant, although that's not quite the same as a bolt action rifle. The Springfield, the 1903, stands alone as the only bolt action in the game without an infantry variant, and I think that's because it's been replaced with the experimental version. Why though? First off, I'd say it's probably because DICE want to introduce something different into the Scout class. The experimental 1903 does offer the Scout its only semi-automatic option, and it can be very effective in the right situation. If you were to take the weapon into the trenches on St. Quentin Scar, or if you were to play on Argonne Forest on Conquest, you'd come across a lot of choke points or just general close quarters areas, and that fast fire rate and 23 max damage of the 1903 would come into its own. Any close quarters situation really, and you have the option to be far more effective than you might have otherwise been with a bolt action rifle. Secondly, it could be that DICE are looking to add the infantry option in at some point in the future, perhaps when the American faction is playing a more pivotal role in some of those maps. I mean, we've got the French Army DLC coming up, They Shall Not Pass. That might present a good opportunity. At least one of those maps is set to take place in late 1918. And if anybody knows anything about World War I, the American forces fought side by side with the French a lot of the time in the last 100 days of the war. So that could be another option. I am pretty confident, however, the main reason that the 1903 Infantry isn't in the game as an option all of the time is because DICE chose to replace it with the experimental variant with the Pedersen device. Personally, I'd rather have the 1903 Infantry bolt action, or have it as an option alongside the Marksman, the experimental and the sniper variants. All other bolt actions in the game have an infantry variant, so I'm not really sure why we can't have one for the Springfield. I mean, you can actually get it in other parts of the game. It's already in the single-player prologue. One of the lives you get a Springfield rifle. You have to kill as many people as you can before you inevitably die. Perhaps the only reason I can really think that it's not been added is due to its extreme long-range sweet spot. The maximum 100 damage starts at 100 meters, and it stops at 150, which is a fair distance, and when you've got no optic to help you see clearly out there, hitting a target could be quite difficult. Having said that though, the Gewehr 98 is a similar weapon in terms of its sweet spot, and we have an infantry variant of that, so perhaps the sweet spot argument can't really be used as a justification. Whatever the reason is, I think it is pretty clear that the community would like to see the 1903 Infantry in the game all of the time, and I'm hoping DICE consider adding it as an option for us to use. As I said, it's already in the game as an option that you can have with certain server settings turned on, so I can't imagine it would take much work to make it available all of the time. While we're on that subject, and I've mentioned this before, but I will say it again, I think that all armies and empires in Battlefield 1 currently, and any that are represented in the future, should have their standard issue rifle added into the game. Currently the Ottomans are equipped with the Martini Henry, which is a rifle that they did use, but it would be more accurate for the M1903 Mauser to be given to them. Not to be confused with the M1903 Springfield, by the way. They are different weapons. The Mauser was a German-made weapon chambered for use of a 7.65mm round, and it was delivered to the Ottomans before the war, and subsequent orders were sent to them in 1916 as well, when a supply line opened up from Germany down to Ottoman land. The Italians used the Carcano rifle, which again isn't currently in the game either, and both of these weapons, along with the 1903 Infantry, could be an awesome opportunity for DICE to add some free weapons into the game. The Springfield, of course, is already in there, it just needs to be made available all of the time, but the Carcano and the Ottoman Mauser would be very nice additions to round out all of the current armies and empires with their standard weapons, and of course once the French army is added in the They Shall Not Pass DLC, I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing the Lebel rifle as well. If you agree with me and think all of the factions in Battlefield 1 should be represented with their proper standard issue rifles, make sure you drop a like on today's video and let me know your thoughts in detail down below in the comments section. Here's to hoping DICE are out there listening. They did give us the Back to Basics mode very recently, and that was based on community feedback, so they are definitely listening. This, I think, would be the next evolution of that, making sure every single faction has its standard issue rifle. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.